All right. I'm here with Niter for open source episode 5 with RavenQuest. Niter, how you doing today, bro? Give
Doing
yourself an
good,
intro.
man. Excited to be here. I'm Nicholas Schrick, aka Niter. I'm the CEO and game director behind RavenQuest and Tavern Light Games.
I mean, I'm not even gonna be shy about it. Everyone knows how I feel about RavenQuest. It's the game that I'm absolutely most bullish on from all the ones that I've played that are, in any sort of live state since the day that I met you guys. Like, I
I
still
appreciate that,
remember
man.
the day that I met you, Drew and Matt. We were in the call, and I was like, bro,
Yeah,
like you guys were still like I think I was like one of the first creators you guys even spoke
yeah,
to.
yeah, for
And you
sure.
guys didn't know how to like navigate. I was like, dude, I don't give a fuck. Like, just give me access. I want in. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's kind of been our studio every step of the way coming into Web
yeah.
three. Is again with a 11-year history, we know how to make games, and we're very confident in shipping games and developing good titles. But what we had to learn was the Web3 space, and people like yourself were huge in that. Just understanding how different it is in terms of, especially on like the creator side, and how to navigate it, and how to and what to avoid as well, because there's a lot to avoid in Web3 as well. And so that's been very interesting. But the core part when it comes to Web3 is gamers like good games. And there's many Web3 elements that are important around that. And that's why we have like very strong advisors and strong partnerships to make sure we navigate that the right way. But in the end of the day, gamers want a good game. And that's something that we know we can deliver on. So
That's an insane idea, right? Gamers wanting a good game.
yeah, it
It's just
seems to be
something that
crazy.
goes
Hey.
over people's
Yeah.
heads.
Yeah.
All right. So at open source, what I like to do is I love to humanize the builder in the space because something that I see a lot with crypto and like Web3 and Web3 gaming is everyone's kind of treated like a PFP or like a commodity in a certain way, like
Yeah.
or almost like this bot that's like supposed to feed us information. And it's like when this, when that AMA session, I have a million questions for you, and you have to answer everything, or we're all gonna fucking hate you. So I kind of just like to bring everyone into the studio, get to know them a little better, like
Yeah.
get to know the actual builder better, and like your journey, right? Like because the alpha stuff, obviously, everyone knows how much I love that, but
Yeah.
I want people to realize that the
There's
true
tons of
alpha.
alpha out there anyways, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like I want people to realize that the true alpha is like who's working on whatever it is that you're excited about, right? So
Yeah.
like I would love to kind of take it back. You've been working on your studio for 11 years. What was that process like? When do Matt and Drew come along? Like,
Yeah.
take us through the lore,
Oh,
man.
those guys. Yeah. I mean, so it goes way back to 13 years ago. I was working a finance job, did not enjoy it, did not like that style of work. I mean, I love numbers, and it's probably been one of my biggest strengths with starting a game studio is I came with it from a very data point of view, I guess you could say, or a financially disciplined point of view, where I find a lot of game studios, especially I've noticed it way more in Web3, are just not financially disciplined at all. And it leads them into a lot of issues. As mentioned, 11 years, we've never had to do layoffs. We've never had to downsize or anything because of financial difficulty. I understand that markets go up and down in traditional markets and obviously Web3 as well. And with that being like future proof is super important to us, and having stability for our staff in our studio. And that journey has been from me by myself working on a small little open source game when I was working at a finance job. So I would, it was right when I actually met my now fiance, but we were very early on in her relationship. And I would work my finance job, the standard 9-10 hours with commute, whatever, and then come home and work on little open source games until like 2 a.m. and sleep a few hours and go back to work. And I had I still have a very amazing partner that stuck around through all of that, and still with my current work schedule sticks around. Very understanding girl. But with that, that was kind of how I got my first leg into the space, into game development, was just making kind of little open source games. One of them ended up getting a little bit of a following, had like 30-40 concurrent players. And then they were like, hey, you should open up ways that we can donate or spend money or something. And so I was like, okay, sure. And then within about a month, I think I got like $1,500. And then another month went by and I was like $2,000. And I was like, oh, like I could actually probably quit my job and survive off this fine. This was Canadian dollars too, to be clear. So when it comes to USD dollars, it's like 1,200 or whatever. But I was in a tiny apartment room with my friend. He had it was a 2-bedroom, but I had like a den, so it wasn't even considered a bedroom. And so I had very low expenses and stuff. And so I was like, sweet, I'll try this out and I'll take a shot here. And then it kind of just that title kept growing. And then we worked on some other stuff as well that all, did fine. They were all very small scope. And then when there was about 8 of us in the studio, after a couple of years of growth, or 3 years of growth, I guess, 3-4 years, we kind of had the idea behind Raven Dawn, which is our Web 2 title that RavenQuest is based off of. And at first it was a very small scope idea because we were a team of under 10. But of course, as we continued to grow and we continued development on it, we're like, okay, let's make this bigger and bigger scope. And then fast forward 8 years later, we now have RavenQuest, which is releasing in a week, which is a much bigger scope game. And the studio has gone from, again, me, myself, to my first few hires, to now 70 full-time in-house. That's not including outside contractors or animation teams we work with, stuff like that. And so it's been a pretty wild journey. And I was sharing with you before we started recording here, but still, like my third hire ever, my fourth hire were a world and art, a world designer and an artist, and they are now our art director and world director. They've been with me through this entire journey, and a lot of the studio has, like, from our first 10 people that ever worked here, all of them except for 2 are still with us over a decade later,
Wow.
which is incredible. And yeah, very blessed with that. And I think it's because we have a very strong and close team culture. But then going to Matt and Drew, Drew came in as we started exploring the Web3 space in 2021. And he just had a lot of insight in that space and had a very good pulse check on what was going on. And he was really the first entry for me. Obviously, I've always known about crypto. I work in tech, so I had Bitcoin from earlier on and all that stuff. But really understanding the Web3 side, if that makes more sense, because it is its own separate world on top of that, right? And then Matt joined the studio about 2 years ago, part-time, and full-time a year ago, and is now our CMO. He's incredibly talented with that kind of stuff, but especially when it comes to ad spend. He's an absolute savant with that. And seeing his work early on compared to everyone else he works with, including agencies and everything, we were like, we have to have this guy leading the charge on this. And yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't know that they're like, obviously they've been with you for some time, but I didn't know they're like more recent in the journey, because like the chemistry that you guys give off is not like that at all. Like,
we're very, to be fair, I've played American football with Drew for many years. So I already played many years of football with him before that. And he's an if you don't know Drew that well yet, he's an incredible athlete. He was one of like the top high jumpers in Canada, and he like picked it up like late in high school, got a full ride scholarship. Like, he's a freak athlete, but and very good American football player. But yeah, so I knew him for a few years before that, but I actually met Matt through Drew. So yeah, me and Matt are much newer to knowing each other, but have grown incredibly close. So
yeah, so the first game, you got the 40 to 50 players, you're getting the $1,500, $2,000.
Yeah.
Like that, I know what that feels like. Obviously, I'm not a game developer, but I know what that feels like in other industries, right? Like that first, like you struck
the slow
gold,
growth, right?
Yeah, the struck. No, but you feel like that's like the most exciting money you'll ever make in your industry.
Oh, it totally is.
Yeah,
When you have, like, especially when you're that small, like when it was me by myself, and again, just open, I was just like script kidding, trying to figure stuff out on forums, asking like I wasn't an engineer by trade. I learned a bunch because I was kind of into this game development, open source game development, for about like 5-6 years already, like through college and stuff, because it was just always fun to me. I enjoyed the creativity side of things. It was a nice creative outlet, but I had no idea what I was doing. And back then, like, you have no expenses, right? You don't have employees to worry about. You have, like, everyone knows as a company scales, you have more and more expenses that you just, like, suddenly accounting stuff gets more expensive. Like, everything becomes more expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's kind of a special time, because it's like a very like dollar in, dollar out. It's like, oh, $1,500 coming in this month. Okay, that's $1,500, right? Where as you grow as a studio, it kind of just becomes like numbers, right? Like this is going in, this is going out, right? It kind of loses that connection. But the plus side is you get to allow a lot more people to do what their dream is for a living, which is way more special.
It's weird how numb you get to money when you start expanding, right? You're like, okay,
Yeah.
this is how much we're making every month. This is how much is coming out every month. This is who needs to get paid. This is who.
Even if you don't make money, even if you because we've reinvested every dollar profit for 11 years. We've always reinvested all of our profit, and I hold 100% of the company, and so I'm able to make that decision, which I think shareholders ruin companies, especially game studios. But anyways, that's a side thing. But with that, like it does become like that, especially when you're just reinvesting everything, right? You don't even think for a second, oh, this is my money. It's like, no, company's money. It just, and if we have more of it, okay, we can grow, we can scale, right? And I think that's why we've grown so, I don't want to say rapidly because we didn't have like that breakout, we didn't have that like Fortnite, or a better example is like Vampire Survivor or Balatro, right? We didn't have that game that suddenly just has millions of players. We have infinite money. It was always like very strategic growth every year. But reinvesting, I think, was everything for that. And that's why, I mean, this year we're growing a lot still. We want to be 100 full-time in the studio by the end of the year and opening the studio in Portugal as well.
Wow. I mean, yeah, it's definitely something that when it comes to that expansion, and I agree with you, by the way, shareholders do ruin companies. It's, I can't say especially gaming studios on my end because I don't know what it's like to run one, but shareholders, everyone has their own interest in mind, like, and I want people to like listen to this and understand that, right? Like for those of you that haven't run your own startup before, those of you that haven't had that experience, figuring out who you align with and who you run a company with. I am not
everything.
I am not like Niter where I own 100% of my company, at least the ones that are more public facing. I have companies that I own 100% of, and those come with their own challenges because at the same time you live and die by your own.
All the decisions fall on you, which can also has downsides too.
Yeah, but the more front facing ones that I have in Web3, it's like, I have my co-founders, Clouds, Damien, Hato, and at Catalyst, and I'm still technically a co-founder at Paladins. I'm more of an advisory figure now, but even then over there, like the guys when we were making decisions and things, it's like everyone has to be aligned. Everyone has to really really understand like we have the same goal here, and that is to grow. And and if you don't have that goal, and we've had those moments, where there's certain people in the team that might feel some type of way about something, and we kind of have to like have a really heart-to-heart kind of conversation and find where the alignment is.
And if it's the right partners, it can be great, right? Like an example is actually Matt and Drew before working at Tavern Light Games. They actually ran a wine tour company together, so that's kind of part of how they knew each other. But they work really well together, right? And so that worked really well. And I think as long as everyone is either aligned or at least very good at compromising and discussing through those things, then it can actually be really powerful to have partners. But that's very different from like, the kind of partnerships that I'm talking about, which is, shareholders, backers that just want to, their goal very much shifts because they're there as an investment, right? And so they want the quickest returns possible. They don't want you taking risks. We see it with every big game studio, right? They get to a point where they took so many risks, they made so many cool things, they pushed so hard, and then they kind of suddenly take a step back and they're risk averse. They're trying to push stuff up as quick as possible, over monetize stuff, and it completely kills what they do. And it always makes me sad when I see a game studio that I'm excited about getting bought out or bringing in a big partner, because I usually know what that means.
Yeah, that means dollar signs are going up on fucking everything. Everything's for sale. You're all of a sudden whoever comes in and is directing the new money flow is more concerned about their car than they are the innovation at hand most of the time.
And there are like those Goldilocks scenarios. There's like the 1 in 100 that can be a great fit, and of course, like over the years we've been approached by everyone, and there's been one time that someone approached me that I was genuinely interested because I did feel like they would be a really good fit. But other than that, it's been a lot of just like, no, I'm not interested. I don't need to take a call on this. I know I won't sell it, or I won't sell a portion of it either. So it's always been an easy decision there. So
What I will say is that really does show itself when you have a meeting with you guys for the first time. Like, what made me so excited, and I almost knew it was going to be a good game off the bat. Like, I remember I was sitting there, it was me, Jave, and you guys, and I was just like smiling from ear to ear, and I had my face on cam and everything. Like,
yeah.
for those of you guys that don't know, I take my meetings and I show my face, right?
Yeah.
And the confidence that you guys have behind what you're doing was unlike any confidence I had seen yet. Like, it was, and it wasn't
Appreciate
arrogant.
that.
It was like, it was
Yeah, we try
genuine,
to be very
you know?
measured. We try to be
Yeah,
very measured on it. Yeah.
yeah. It wasn't arrogant at all.
Yeah.
Despite how, like, I think I would probably be more arrogant in your shoes, like,
Yeah.
transparently speaking. You
Actually,
know,
Matt did something very flattering. He did. Matt, he enjoys the Twitter a little bit more than me, and he's better at it than me
oh, he
too.
loves Twitter, man.
But yeah, but he did a post just saying how I don't hype things up enough, and I don't FOMO stuff, and I'm like very measured on what I share, and that's just because of my own. I don't want to say moral duty or whatever, but I feel very uncomfortable when I hear projects like clearly trying to lean into FOMO on stuff, especially when it's like clearly not substantiated. It makes me feel very uncomfortable just from my finance background, because obviously a lot of that stuff is very taboo, let alone illegal. And so I'm very like measured on how we do that kind of stuff. But that also, like, sometimes I go into, a spaces or whatever, and everyone's kind of like hardcore shilling and FOMOing what they're doing. And I'm much more measured on how I do it, which can hurt me at times, because I probably could get a lot more attention if I did lean more into that. But it's just not our way of doing things. We've always believed that, like, we'd rather under promise, over deliver consistently. And I really feel we've done that.
No, I think you guys play a really good balance, because Matt does puff out his chest a little more for the squad,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. And to be fair, that is,
I love it. I think it's
that
great.
is all very genuine hype too. Like when we have like when he's over here working and stuff, like we'll go over some things. He gets like so excited. He's like, I gotta tweet about this. Like, because he's obviously with a studio our size, like he's not in like development calls all day, right? And so a lot of it gets passed to him on things that we've built out or things that we're working on. So he gets excited as like a community member hearing about it for the first time, right? So.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. Like, I'll never forget the first time I did 2v2s, right?
Mm-hmm.
I did the
Yeah.
2v2 tournament with you guys, and that was incredible. I unfortunately wasn't able to prepare as much as I would have liked. And, like,
It's not good.
everyone had already
You'll have
figured
another
out.
shot, don't
Yeah,
worry.
everyone else had figured out the meta before I got
Oh
there.
yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah,
was like, fuck. But
yeah.
I mean, I was still happy with my performance. Like, I did pretty solid.
Hell yeah.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. No, and really it was like those early tournaments were just kind of a test run for us. We wanted to see like how does the format do well? Because we're an MMO, PvP is a big part of it. But having like the arena system and stuff, we really wanted to just see what was audience reception like. Is this something we should lean into more? And then that led to our live event and our live tournament that we did in Sao Paulo a month ago, I guess now. And seeing that reception was kind of another building stone, which has led us to our Champions League, which we recently announced, which will be a full circuit. And our biggest thing is we did most of that in-house instead of hiring like an expensive production team. We actually did it at a venue that we know another Web3 project did at that exact same venue. And we knew what they paid their production team. And it was almost 5 times as much. And we had many creators at our event that said, it felt just as good, if not better. It was like a little bit more organic, is what a lot of people said, just because we do have a long time community. But ultimately, we've realized like again, there's a lot of really frivolous spending in Web3 we find, which to us just many times doesn't really make sense. It feels like a lot of groups, they have other people's money, and so they just want to make crazy stuff with it without really thinking about what it costs. And then a month later, they say, hey, we have no money left. So
yeah, it's kind of nuts. Like, I was having a conversation with Chris Heatherly from Mystery Society, and I haven't aired the episode yet, but by the time this airs, it'll be up, And I'm probably gonna post that in like a day or two.
cool.
And what I did experience is, like, at one point he said that they weren't necessarily spending this much, but they easily calculated they could have been spending 75, anywhere between 50 to 75K a month
Mhm.
with like the way that people in Web3 like to do this.
Yeah.
As far as like the marketing spend and how much they charge and the events that they could host and the prize pools and all these things. But meanwhile, his CPI when he ran ads himself was like 21 cents. So he was just like,
That
it doesn't
seems
add up to me.
that seems impossible. I don't even not saying that's not real. I'm just trying to think like what he could have done. Like I feel like you're getting some weird users at that CPI. That's insane. But they're mobile though, right?
Yeah, they're mobile. They're like an
Okay,
Among Us type game.
yeah. That does help. But yeah, that's wild.
Yep. So unfortunately they were unable to get additional funding, and it's actually caused them to shutter close their door.
I mean, one scary thing to me is when you see a project that is like whether it's done or not, but like in early access or whatnot, and they're still needing funding. That like what I see a lot in Web3, but also traditional is groups looking more of a focus on how can we fund, like raise more money rather than how can we actually be a sustainable project in the first place. If you have to rely on like outside funding to keep the lights on for a game that is already playable, that seems very weird to me. Again, unless there's like a goal of like, hey, we need to raise 100 grand to do like a marketing push, right? Because we need to get this game in front of people. That's different, of course. But a lot of these projects are not in that position anymore. And it's like, okay, maybe the game just either doesn't monetize well, or maybe there actually isn't just as much interest. I don't know, right? But it seems scary when they're like, okay, we have a product that's playable. Now we need to go and fundraise. Again, unless there's a very clear goal for that. Yeah.
So that's I kind of love seeing that perspective, which is why I wanted to ask the question, right? And this is no shade to any teams in the space. Like it's just trying to see, because the way that I've run businesses my whole life, basically, right? Like
Yeah.
small
Serial entrepreneur.
like,
It's very common. Yeah.
yeah. So for me, it's always like, all right. And I've always been a self-funded kind of guy, which is why you guys really like struck a chord with me when I met you. Because you're like, hey, we had like a $10,000 marketing budget and we ran this shit up. And I was like,
Yeah.
yo, that's dope. Like that is super relatable for me,
Yeah.
Because I used to do the same thing with fashion back in the day. Like the way that I got a lot of the clients that I ended up ghost designing for is they would just end up liking my clothes, and I would always be the guy that would have to find like go to the thrift, and instead of making like pants from scratch, I'd find a pair of jeans to like work on or do something on,
Yeah. I love
and
that.
I made my money that way, and then it's like the profit scaled for created the scale essentially. So
yeah, exactly. It's so much it's so much safer, but also sustainable, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, continue, please.
So it's like, all right, I know that I can drive this many more sales for every $200 that I make. Like that was my mentality at the time, right?
Yeah.
And I was just focused on sales. I wasn't focused. Like I knew what my profit margin was, and I was like, all right, I just need to move this many units a month, and like I'm good. Like I can do this full time, and then just go from there. So I see these teams, and they get to that point where like you're there, like sell the jeans in my head, right? It's like, all right, you got where's your scale at, bro? Like just go for it, it's a little confusing at times in this space for me.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. And it's like a very weird way of approaching things. I feel like when you do it that grassroots way as well that we've done, and you mentioned that you've gone through, I feel like you have such a stronger connection to a dollar as well. It always scares me when you see these teams. I mean, you saw it a lot a few years ago in the Web3 side, but also in traditional games as well, where a lot of teams or people that had really no business getting a $5 million investment were getting them. And, they've never ran a studio before. Maybe they're from like a certain, like they worked at another studio and now something like, oh, I'm going to like start my own studio. It's like, that's great. But like, they don't have any like proof of that ability. It's a very different skill set, right? You can be the best engineer at Blizzard. That doesn't mean you're going to run a successful company, right? And I feel like, I mean, that's what we're seeing now with the game industry and the Web3 gaming, just like all of these industries, is like there was so much money being pushed in during that time, and there was so much money going groups that shouldn't have it, and that's being weeded out now, right? This is standard in any market, right? It has to go through that cooling off period, trim the fat, get the, those groups go under, whatnot. Other talented groups get together because now there's talented people looking for work, and then you see the next cycle, right? We've seen it with traditional games, traditional markets forever. That's just how things work. And obviously being like a sustainable team where you don't need to rely on outside funding, you're able to make it through those markets without having a complete meltdown because you can't go out and raise more money, right? Yeah.
And what have you found, like, and this is, and feel free to, say no if you don't want to answer the question, but what have you found is, like, I guess not the easiest way to make money when you're making a game, but like the best way that's like what's friendliest for players, but still being profitable for your studio, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I feel like so many people are either predatory or they don't know how to monetize. Like,
yeah, it's definitely a mixture of both. I mean, it's a scale, right? And I will say, as a studio over 11 years, we've tried pretty much every model there is. We've tried like on very far sides of the spectrum. The first little open source game I made was incredibly pay to win. It was because I was just like I was just trying to make enough to keep the servers on and to pay rent. And that model, obviously, the reality is pay to win models. If you're a very predatory pay to win model, you're probably going to lose about like 50% of players at most. They just won't touch the game. But you're obviously making significantly more than that 50% of players you're losing. That's why big studios push out very heavy pay to win games, right? That's why mobile games exist, because it does work. That's just the reality of it. And it is more profitable. But actually with Raven Dawn's release, we tried a incredibly gentle monetization model. We had no sticker price in the game, free to download. And we only had a monthly membership, and the monthly membership was $7.99 a month. So also incredibly, incredibly cheap, and also just packed with reasons to get it. And this is a model that just does not work very well, because the reality is, one, the membership price was just very low, right? RuneScape even is like 15 a month or something like that, or even higher than that now. And so the price is tough, but we had a very big Brazilian following, so we wanted to have a very low price for considering that. But the reality is, game developers now want a lot more than they wanted 10, 15 years ago. It is a very serious career path now, and a very competitive career path, in the sense of lots of studios want talented people, and a studio that has very, very heavy pay to win models and printing money, they can poach all your talent, right? And that's been the biggest shift, is even when I started in this space, a lot of people kind of just wanted to do it to work in this space. It was just their dream was just to work on games. And you still have that, but now they have offers from those big studios that are willing to pay them almost any number they want. And because they make that kind of money, so it's kind of made its own competition in the space. And so with that, unfortunately, you can't do incredibly gentle monetization models like we used to see 20 years ago, when people weren't getting 6-figure salaries to work on games, right? When if they made just enough to live, they were happy to be a lead on a project with 50 people behind it, because that's all, and so monetization has had to change. I think it is a scale, though, or a spectrum, where you have the very far side, which you pretty much never see anymore. Our monetization for Raven Dawn was, we understand now, was just too gentle, and it wasn't a good model, and it was something that we really wanted to try to almost prove to ourselves, is this a thing? So you see kind of the spectrum of games, and there's obviously the super pay to win mobile games, which are I would say at the 100, right, on the far on one side. And then you maybe have the games that are free to play, and it's maybe ads or something, and so there's really not much incentivization. And then you kind of have in the middle of the spectrum, you have games I don't know, Black Desert Online or RuneScape or stuff, where it's it's there is a kind of a level of pay to win that's available. Like RuneScape, you can buy bonds and exchange them for silver and stuff, and there is that level, but it's a level that is, one, not going to completely ruin the gameplay, where you basically have to spend it or you can't even progress through the game or something like that. But it's also at least a kind of a little bit of a win-loss form of monetization, because players that can't afford membership, they're able to grind the game and they're able to buy membership, like in RuneScape, for example, or World of Warcraft with WoW tokens. And the players that don't want to grind gold, they're able to buy those and subsidize back and forth. And so you're actually getting like a lot of players that are now able to participate in all that and have premium or membership or whatever. And then you also have players who don't want to do that repetitive. They're able to subsidize that. And so I think models like that are really strong because there is an element where you can reliably bring in revenue from the 10% of free-to-play players that actually want to spend money and not just play the game without spending $1. But at the same time, you're not getting into that territory where it's like swipe your credit card for $1,000 and get the strongest weapon in the game. Yeah.
No, and it seems like perhaps RavenQuest kind of goes in that middle ground this time around. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, because our model is very similar to the WoW token.
That's the model I'm most familiar with. So GG.
Yeah, and every MMO has this model now. Yeah. Albion Gold, Guild Wars Diamonds, Tibia coins, like every game has this model because it is a good model. It's a very good model because it allows people that don't want to spend money the ability to get something that they never would have been able to get. And it allows players that don't want to do that really long grind for gold or whatever to do that. So it's one of those models where it's like a win-loss model because you hate monetizing stuff. It's every game developer's worst nightmare is finding ways to monetize. We hate it. It's like it's so miserable to go through because you don't want to piss people off, but you also know we need to keep the lights on. People need to get pay for their rent, right? Like you have to, but you don't want to because you know
can see
every
the Reddit
time,
post in your head already.
Oh my god, dude! It's like I've gone through enough of that. You do like the simplest little thing, and you're like, guys, like I remember. Even just announcing that we'd have a membership with Raven Dawn's release, we had like literally no monetization in the game yet. We had nothing. And then a month before launch, we're like, okay, yeah, we're going to be doing a membership model, $8 a month. And the blowback was insane. And I'm like, guys, this is like the only thing we're monetizing. And it's half the price of like RuneScape. Like, do you want us to just like eat bread and water? And like what do you expect? Right. And yeah, it's tough. But at the same time, a lot of the community also, it is not stupid, right? But you also get some members that unfortunately are maybe a little stupid.
Yeah, man. I've seen all sorts of because I just again like I'm passionate about business, so I would like go through all sorts of just reading stuff up. Like in fashion, you're always trying to figure out like, all right, like when I would be brought in to work with a company, they'd be like, all right, we need the flagship product. But then you need to create, because I worked primarily in like luxury, so you need to create like a gigantic like price difference between product A and product B, so people purchase product B in excess, and you actually break even on product A, even though it is priced astronomically. You're like trying to justify that, right?
Yeah, that is that is literally, I mean, it's what Riot just did with their latest skin, right? The like $400 skin or whatever. Yeah. And it's that kind of idea. You make that exclusivity, and it does work, right?
Yeah, and then at the end of the day, like for example, I worked on this jacket. It cost like 12 grand, and the whole thing, it was a psychological thing to place it on the website next to a bag that only costs $750, and then place it in the store where on the rack it has the jacket, and then the bag is like sitting in the middle of the jacket, and you're like, fuck this jacket, but hey, the bag's only $750, and then you move volumes on the $750, right? So and I'm always like thinking psychologically, like, how do I piss people off the least when I'm in that role, right?
Yeah. And it sucks because like, especially if your goal is not to be juicing out profit for shareholders. I mean, like you just want to continue to grow, build cool shit that the community gets to benefit from. It sucks when you get that blowback. It's like, guys, that's not our goal. We want to build more cool shit. But of course, people have been burned so many times by that, right? And so, you lose those graces, which is the saddest part. And I've seen that come into Web3. The amount of like cynicism, I think I'm using that word correctly, behind every step is wild in Web3. And I think it's because people have just been burned so much. Projects saying, hey, we're waiting for X timing or whatever, and they delay stuff. And then 6 months later, as they've been delaying, they say, oh, we're out of money. See ya. Right. And it's like, I can understand now why community members are burned when lose trust when someone's like, hey, we just need to cook a little bit longer. Right. Because they've seen that go the wrong way too many times, which is sad. Right.
I can tell you from that, the perspective that I've gone through. It's like, um, many people, like, at least in myself, I'm a community leader. I don't consider myself like a KOL or any of that shit. I create content and I lead communities with my friends, and we have fun
Mhm.
doing that. When games shutter and you supported them, you take the blame. Like, people come after you, right?
Yep.
Because they can't get mad at the studio anymore. Studio's gone. Like, they're
Yeah.
not, if they even were a studio in some cases, it's like, all right,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
You end up finding out they had a fucking one dude in house and like everyone else was on
Oh,
fire.
I will chime in quick on that. That is something that I've been shocked by in the Web3 space is like we obviously get reached out by everybody for collabs, like other games, right? Wanting to do just
Yep.
like cross promotion and stuff. And we've declined all of it until one recently, because I'm pretty good at sniffing out crap because I've been in game development for a long time, and I can usually see in like a gameplay trailer or an actual gameplay trailer if there's like some really big concerns, like huge like bullet desync in a shooter. And it's like, okay, they just made a demo, basically a video, like for a video. Like, this is not going to feel good
Yeah.
if you play it. But one thing that shocked me is how many teams we've met with and what they are saying they are making and how small their team is. Because I instantly am like, well, that's not possible unless you have 40 years. But also, or sometimes it's just literally not possible. And it's very weird, like seeing the scope, because you sometimes get in Web 2 where people bite off more than they can chew, especially on like Kickstarter things. But you see it a lot in Web 3 where they're saying something that I'm like, dude, it's just not there yet. Like, I don't know what kind of like team you are. Like, unless you have like 400 people, like, you're not building this. I'm sorry. And because we see how many people go into building the next, GTA title, the next,
Yep.
massive MMO, like or even shooters, right? We see how many people go into Call of Duty and stuff. And it's wild how many teams I met with. And I'm like, wait, there's 11 of you? Like, you have one animator? What do you mean, right? And they have just enough of an animation team to sell more things before the game releases, right? They're not actually building anything out. And that's been like super concerning and sad to see in the space.
Yeah, and it's been something that I grew up being a hardcore gamer, like,
Mhm.
20K hours in WoW alone, like, and I still got the fucking
Were
account.
you
So
in a
anyone that,
were you an arena guy?
of course, man. I mean, I paid for my mom
Good.
presents carrying in arenas,
Yes,
like,
there we go. Okay,
yeah,
good. I love it. I love it. I love
yeah.
it.
I would sit around in fucking Orgrimmar or Ironforge because I played both Alliance and Horde,
Yeah.
or Dalaran, depending the expansion. And I just be
Yeah.
like, yo, who needs carries, bro? Because,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't
I
make
love
money
it.
anywhere else,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
at that time, anyways, in my life,
Yeah. Yeah.
so I have plenty of that experience. That's why, like, the 2v2 arena experience in
Yeah.
RavenQuest, I lost it, man. Like, Matt
Yeah.
has the clip where I just go crazy. I'm just like screaming at the top of my lungs,
Yeah.
because
I have a
it
pretty
meant a
long
lot to me. Yeah.
I have a pretty long background with WoW Arena, and so that heavily inspired our PvP design in general. So
Oh,
that's probably
it's
part of why
very
you loved it so much.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's very evident when you play. I was like, oh my
yeah,
fucking god, because I've been waiting
yeah,
for like that. And, like, everyone in
yeah,
this space, they do the MMO thing, and I don't mean to shit on everyone here, but I've been very critical of MMOs, and they
yeah. As you
leave
should
me
be.
dry. They leave
Yeah,
me dry when it comes to the PvP, and that's where I lived, bro. Like,
yeah.
that was
Well,
my
and
shit. Yeah.
that's why. That's why, despite being a very big team, we built out a pixel-based MMO because we knew like we knew what kind of niche we wanted to fit in, and the niche that we wanted to fit in was creating a massively content-rich MMO. That's what we
Yeah.
wanted. We didn't want to have half our team have to be animators and 3D designers. Like, we wanted to have a very programming and game design heavy studio and build out something that we felt was kind of missing in MMOs, because there's enough MMOs out there that are like this new, cutting edge graphics and stuff. But then you
Yeah,
play for
exactly.
20 hours and you're like, well, now what? Or like, oh, this all feels really bland and uninspired. And so we took a very different approach. And that's why, like, our community is seeing how much content we've done just from our final test phase in December to release. Like, we literally dropped 57 pages of patch notes, and that was with us trimming it and cleaning it up as much as possible. Like, this is not like
Yeah.
bloating intentionally, but we have a very big team, so we're able to make insane amounts of stuff. And that's why we kind of went into this niche, is we wanted to more focus on satisfying gameplay, super immersive world, really content rich. And you can't do that when you have, half your staff having to be 3D designers or whatever. And also I need to be clear too, like, I've been kind of hard on the Web3 game development space. But at the same time, like, we've absolutely loved moving into the Web3 space as a studio. There's so many incredible pros of the space. The one thing I'll definitely mention is because it is not huge, like it's not as big as the traditional game space, people are a lot closer, and we found people were very willing to support us early on. Yourself is a prime example of that. But just calls that we had with people where they didn't know who we were at all, and we would just chat, and they'd be like, literally as the call ended, they're trying to connect us with people, support us, how can we help, whatever. And that's something that's very unique to Web3. And I think it's because everyone in Web3 wants it to succeed. And so they want to support people that they do think are bringing cool stuff to the space.
Yeah, exactly. And, and again, it's not to shit on anyone or in any form. Like I've been through all the iterations. Like even me with like my 20K of WoW experience alone. And like, again, I can log into my account, do the /play. Like I got it right there.
Yeah. You got the receipts.
I used to play fucking God Comp as a mage.
Oh
And
my God.
yeah,
Okay,
like,
okay.
that was my life, man. So
Yeah.
I still couldn't tell like what the fake games were at times. And I have like a lot of experience playing games. Like, at times, most of the
Being a
time I
game
can snap them out.
developer helps a lot with that, because the amount of times that like Matt or Drew have sent me like a trailer from like a Web3 game that's getting like a lot of attention, right? And granted, there are a few Web3 games that we think are awesome and are going to do really well. But the amount of times they send me a trailer and I'm like, oh, this is like all stock. Like I know these exact assets, or like I'll see something in the trailer. I'm like, oh, like the bullets aren't even properly connecting with the model, and the models are not like but those are things that like a lot of people see like a cooked cinematic or cooked gameplay trailer and like, oh my God, this looks incredible. It's like, dude, this is literally just put together in Unreal. Like there's like two people could put this together in 3 days. Like this is not a game, right? And that's something that you notice when you've worked in the industry and you've done these things, because you know how people can reproduce this and what to look for the signs. But the average gamer, even if they're a hardcore gamer, they don't really notice those things many times because that's not their line of work, right? And so we see a lot of it in Web3 where people get hoodwinked pretty frequently, and it's super sad to see. And it hurts it hurts us in space. And like you said, like you don't want to call people out, and I try to avoid it as well. But I see so much stuff on Twitter that I'm like, I just want to cook the hell out of this because this is so obvious, and I know I can like back it up and very like critically share why it's cooked. But at the same time, like, we're newer to the space. I don't want to come in like throwing nukes everywhere. But I kind of wish more stuff gets called out. Inhuman actually just called something out the other day, and I was like, it was literally what when Drew sent it to me. Yeah, when Drew sent it to me, I literally said that, and then like later on, he sent me Inhuman's post, and I was like, thank fuck someone said it, and like he has like the long-term credibility to do that. I don't feel like I have that yet, and I don't want to be coming in dropping nukes, but it'll come, because a lot of the stuff I see in the space like really upsets me as a game developer.
Yeah, man. If you ever feel like there's something, no, and I don't even mean this on a dramatic level. Like, if you ever feel like there's something that has caught your attention that should be called out, like, I don't mind doing it myself.
Send it your way. Okay, I might do that.
Mind,
I like that.
I don't mind doing it. I don't mind doing it, and even being like verified by a dev. Something like that. Like,
and I'm like all those things. I'll always provide receipts on why I think that, or why I'm confident behind that. Yeah, I would appreciate that, because sometimes I'm like, I go and like type it out and I'm like, oh, I really shouldn't. And so I'm like, okay, but I try to like get it out of my system. But that seems like a nice compromise. I like that.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Because I do think it's also, I do think there's like a more responsibility too, right?
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Like, to me, I have so many people that look to me to say, hey, Miz, what do I play? Because I have a pretty decent track record. Like, have I played 1 or 2 games that didn't end up the best? Yes. We all have, but
hey, you like us, so that's a pretty good track record.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I have a pretty decent track record. So people are like, yo, Miz, what do we play? Because we don't know what to, like, where's the thumbs up at? Like, because we don't know if this is going to rug. Because, for example, when Shrapnel first came out, and I don't mean to shit on those guys, I was one of the only people that was critical, and like I took so much heat for that. So like I've been down that road before, like
Yeah.
and then at first everyone thought I was a clown, but then when they kind of saw things play out, and I was close
Yeah.
to the team, like it
Yeah.
hurt me to say the things that I was saying, like Tony and Dub wasn't
Mhm.
there yet, but like Tony and some of the other guys that were on the team, I had a lot of respect for them, and
Mhm.
it was really difficult for me to say the things that I was saying at the time, and for me to tell people on the stream like I will not play that shit, and I'm kind of getting clowned around on, and it kind of once things started coming out and people started realizing there were certain things wrong with it, it made me look great, but it was kind of a hard road to travel, and
Yeah, it does
it,
make like it is so clicky, the Web3
yeah,
space, right? You're usually very much decentivized to call shit out because on top of that, like not only are other people gonna you got ruffled feathers, but also projects that are full of shit are not gonna want to pay you money to shill them because they know you'll probably call out their shit instead. And so it definitely hurts. Like I understand why it's not done much because it is such a small circle still. But it definitely is like the more people that get torched by Web3 games, the harder it is for Web3 games to succeed and the harder it is for the space to grow. And I think once that's seen and understood and everyone kind of is aligned with that, it'll help a lot because everyone who's like weary of Web3 games or crypto games or blockchain games, the sentiment is always from, hearing about, Logan Paul's shit or whatever. It's like, it's all these projects that get enough attention to hit the mainstream. And that's all they keep hearing is, oh, another project did stupid, like shady shit. Right. And if that's all they keep hearing, how can you ever expect them to change the narrative? Like they're basically being pushed constantly. I don't want to say propaganda because it's like accurate as well, but like they're constantly being, they're constantly being pushed. Like this is a lot of scammy shit in here. So why would they ever change that sentiment? Right.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I'm in a hotel right now because I'm taking care of a family, so I had to relocate for a little bit. And in the hotel, I'm up at all odd hours and shit. And like my mother-in-law works at this hotel, so everyone knows me.
Cool.
Like
makes sense.
and everyone's like, "Oh, what do you do?" Like because they find it interesting that I'm just like in the hotel all day, and I'm like, "Oh, I work in crypto gaming." And then like I showed them my Twitter, they're like, "Oh, it's not a scam." Like I literally sat down with the hotel staff in the lunchroom at like 3 o'clock in the morning, just like showing them like my account, like pulling them into the whole thing,
it's
telling them
so
what games
different,
are
right?
good. Yeah, and they're just like, "Oh, we swore that whole scene was a scam," and I was like, "I mean, a lot of it is. I can't tell you that it's
A
not."
lot of
Like,
it is. Yeah, you're not totally wrong.
yeah.
And
So it was.
it's funny. That's kind of reminds me when I first started game development, like the amount of like family or friends would be like, "Oh, you're making games," right? Like when I was at that point making a living from it, and they all just thought I was like I lost my job and I was unemployed or something, right? But obviously now it's like much more understood. Like, oh, you work in the game industry, okay, that makes sense. And Web3 is kind of at that as well. But yeah, it's one of those things that like it's so important to change that. And like we've seen it even with our RavenQuest community. Over 60% have never played a crypto game and don't even have a crypto wallet. And the sentiment from them where they're like, oh shit, this game's actually just like really fun. I didn't even realize that it had like blockchain stuff to it. I guess they're not all bad, right? Like, oh, this is actually a fun game. And I think the more and more games that make it very seamless, so you're not like log in with your passport or your crypto wallet or immutable passport. I'm plugging them now. But like log in with your wallet or whatever. Like the more and more games that we see, like Off the Grid, Shameless, are like us, that make it very organic for Web2 user, and they look at that as like an upgrade activation down the road instead of like throwing it in their face. And on top of that, just have a fun game to play. Because again, gamers play fun games. Like a Web2 gamer will play a Web3 game if they're not slammed with a wallet and they can actually see that it's a fun game. That's how we break the perception of all Web3 games or scams or whatever, right? Is showing people that they're not.
Exactly. And I've taken that road where I'm just like down to have the one-to-one conversations like one at a time, and it's not scalable, but we're not even at the position where we can scale with that type of stuff. At least I'm not on the community level. You know, it's like, all right, I got to talk to you guys and argue with some of you to like
Mhm.
make you realize that I'm not one of the fucking scammers, right? Like,
Yeah, no,
um,
and we've met some gems in the space. Like we have a
yeah,
circle now that we're very close with, and creators, communities, and we very quickly sniffed out what the crap is in the space and what isn't. And like again, we're being hard on the space, but the reality is there is definitely a portion of the space that is just incredible. Very excited about the possibilities, what's there, what's already there, what's coming, and very encouraging and supportive and real. Like their stuff is real, what they're doing is real. It does exist. It's just a lot of it is drowned out by the mud or whatever you want to say. And the sad part is most of the projects that are themselves the loudest, so like very FOMO heavy, very like whatever, they're often the ones that are doing the most of it. Like the ones that are getting the most attention. Often they're the worst offenders of it, which is
yeah.
a shame. Yeah,
And it's like, and I want to get into a couple gaming questions in here in a minute, but
yeah, please.
before we do that, like we've recently seen on the timeline, like everyone's like, "Oh, Web3 gaming's cooked," like, you know, we're
Yeah,
fucked, or it's going to
yeah. It's
shit,
just another
and I'm just
another
like,
cycle.
guys,
Yeah,
like, RavenQuest goes live in a week. Like, what are you
I
talking
know.
about?
It's kind of funny because we're taking like a risk. We understand we are launching in like probably one of the lowest sentiments around Web3 games,
Yeah,
but you see it in traditional markets. You've seen it in traditional game industry. You've seen it in the Web3 space as well. Things go in cycles, right? The way that the narrative breaks is something breaks the narrative, and then everyone rides that hype again, and then it goes through another cycle. Our goal is to break that narrative, and we think we have the things in place to do that, which is first and foremost a really fucking good game. That's
yeah,
just the reality of it. If you can get past the fact that it's top-down pixel art, I promise you will be absolutely hooked on what we've built and the world we've built. But that's really how we see it. We're like, yeah, no project wants to release right now. No project wants to do X, Y, and Z. So fuck it, we're going to do it because someone has to, and someone has to lead the charge, because that narrative doesn't change unless someone comes in and changes that narrative. It doesn't just magically change. Someone has to break it. And so that's what we're here to do.
yeah, and it's the top-down pixel art took me some time to get used to, but I became like a defender of it because I
I know
understood once I
everyone
played it.
does.
Yeah,
I Dude, I
What's that?
tell this to everybody. Like, I'm like, trust me, play a few hours. You will not only, because like we did this perspective, because for anyone who doesn't know, we have a unique perspective that is not like Stardew Valley or whatever. We have a unique
Yep.
perspective that we are very much inspired by Ultima and Tibia, two other games. And the reason why is it actually allows you to show a lot more depth to the model and animations. And so we wanted to do, because it's like a kind of weird half like it's like 2.5D. It's very unique and very weird. But we knew why we wanted to do it, because we wanted to do pixel art and top down, but we wanted to still show more depth to character models and animations. So we went with this style. We knew that it would be polarizing, but we also knew the people that did like it would love it. And that's very much what we've seen. And the truth is, like, play it a few hours. I promise you'll get over it. It'll feel like second nature. I know, as someone who found it very polarizing at first, and then we worked in it, and I was like, oh wait, this all actually makes a ton of sense, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
So yeah,
I was grateful to it once I got to the arena scene because I was like,
yeah,
oh, now I get it. You guys said
yeah,
fuck
where it's
all this
beneficial. Yeah,
stuff. You guys said fuck all this stuff because you wanted to get like the meat and potatoes of what we really want in the game.
exactly. Yeah,
Anyway, yeah, and
yeah.
deliver it quickly because
Eh,
you know that experience is years of development, and this was
yeah,
probably delivered in like a quarter of the time.
yeah. And
So
I would say like our focus has always been like, we know what we're building won't be for everyone, and that's okay. We don't need everyone, because the reality is, if you conquer a niche in Web 2, not so much Web 3. Web 3 is a little too small, but that's why we appeal very much to a Web 2
yeah,
audience and do a lot of marketing to Web 2. Is the even small niches in Web 2 are gigantic, and we've seen it with so many games. And so we've always had the approach of like, yeah, we're not gonna bring in the person that wants to see like the next Call of Duty level graphics or anything like that. We're not gonna appeal that audience. We're gonna appeal to people that want gameplay first, and that's always been our design philosophy in house. Is gameplay first, and yeah.
I mean, I think there's like a pretty big crossover of like the WoW player, or the Tibia player, the Albion Online player that also played games
Albion's
like
a huge one.
yeah,
Yeah.
like Stardew Valley and things like that. It's kind of
Hmm.
like to
World
not
building.
saying yeah, not to say that it's that RavenQuest is anything like Stardew Valley, really. Like in certain
No, a
aspects,
lot
it
of
feels like it.
inspiration came from
Yeah,
Stardew. Yeah, a lot of our inspiration. I always say like ArcAge, World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 11, Tibia, obviously in the perspective, and then
yeah.
oh shoot, I'm missing one more here. But there was 5 games that really inspired a lot of our design decisions, and Stardew Valley definitely had a lot of inspiration for us on our land management system and world building kind of elements.
Yeah, and that was like the part that my wife really fucked with because she doesn't like playing WoW like that, you know? But when she saw me
Yeah,
playing RavenQuest, she was
yeah.
like, "Oh, that looks cute. Like,
We have a
let me check it out."
disproportionately,
Yeah.
yeah, we have a disproportionately high amount of girls playing RavenQuest compared to any other MMORPG because we do have a very much like world building land management side that
Yeah.
players can really go deep into and not have to be grinding mobs, doing bosses if they don't want to. And that was, yeah, very important in our design.
Oh, I mean, that's really cool to hear that it's like reflecting in the player base because I
Mhm.
know for a fact my
It
wife,
definitely is.
she loves watching me do like arenas or battlegrounds, but she doesn't like playing it because when she tries playing it, she's
Yeah.
like, I don't
Oh,
know
it's
what the
too
fuck
much.
this is.
If you're not a seasoned
Yeah.
gamer, you don't like MMO PvP. That's for seasoned
Yeah.
gamers. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like she'll watch me like land the sheep, blink around the corner, land the counter
Yeah.
spell,
Yeah. Yeah.
fucking, get
Oh.
like I'm a CC monster. Like I if I needed to
You're
fix
a
something
mage
in my
player.
mage,
You have to be a
yeah,
CC monster.
yeah.
Yeah.
If
Otherwise,
I
you're not
needed to
doing your
fix something
job.
in my gameplay, I would like probably get a little better at my burst. That was always like my small problem.
Nah,
But
listen, I
yeah,
played enough WoW in 90% of expansions. Good mage is one that just spams poly.
yeah, exactly.
That's what a good mage does. Yeah, you don't want the
um,
mage that is focused on burst over their polys because then you're gonna
no.
lose.
My wife would like watch me and she's like, "Yo, you're fucking cracked at like just shutting them down." And then like I tried teaching her how to play rogue so we can play RMP or
Oh,
RMP,
yeah,
and
that
she was
sounds
like,
like an experience. Yeah.
she was like, "That's not
Well,
fucking
and
happening."
funny enough, my fiance, the one MMO she ever played with me was ArcAge because she could literally just run the land, decorate the house, harvest the animals, and stuff like that. And that was really a huge inspiration for us in the design. As we were like, wow, this is so cool how there's so much around this MMO, but she can actually progress through the game just using the land because it gave like actual experience for leveling. And so that was a huge inspiration behind our crafting and our land system is we wanted people to actually be able to progress in the game just doing that, not like WoW where it's like a side thing to do crafting, right?
Yeah,
It's like no, you can actually progress the game doing playing this way. Yeah.
yeah. That is. I know there's like one guy that leveled to a full, just like mining and herbing, but it took him like
Mhm.
a year.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
my God. Yeah. That I mean, that's like you're doing that for like an achievement or a
yeah,
spectacle, not
exactly.
for actually. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I really love that side of the game design because this might be the first MMO I actually really get to play with my wife.
Sweet. I
Where
love to hear that, man.
I don't feel like I have to compromise on anything. Like I don't have to play
Yeah.
some gushy shit. She doesn't have to play
Exactly.
some
Yeah.
bloody shit. Like it's like we
Yeah.
both have what we want in the game. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and now getting into a couple of questions that I have because I mentioned like God Comp, RMP, RMD, like these are the core like 3v3. If you're a mage player, you were playing one of those in the mob era.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, how first of all, what was your main in WoW and like in every MMO like traditionally?
Yeah. So in WoW, I almost always played heal. I mean, you're a WoW player, you
Yeah,
kind of play everything to some degree.
of course. Yeah,
I mainly played healer because in my friend group, there was basically 3 of us in our friend group that were like gladiator level players. So we kind of had to stick together. And they both only played DPS. They hated healing. They hated it so much. And I always actually kind of enjoyed healing. I found it fun. Obviously, most people like DPS more, but I always found healing pretty fun as well. And so I played literally every healer. I didn't play much this expansion because we've just been obviously very busy with RavenQuest. But I played pretty much every other expansion other than that, and Classic Burning Crusade. I didn't play Classic WoW much because I only play Arena when I play WoW, and so I didn't play much of that. But I played virtually every expansion and pushed Arena in all of them, and so with most expansions, I have pretty much every healer maxed, depending on the comp that we're playing. So I can play pretty much every healer pretty comfortably. The one that I had the highest, like I was the ninth, well, not including the people above me that had 3 names in them. I was the 9th highest Mistweaver monk in the world,
nice.
in Dragonflight. And wait, Dragonflight, right? Yeah. War Within right now, Dragonflight. Yep. Jesus, my mind is torched. So that is what I have by far the most experience in and played the best as. However, I've played every healer to a 2400 level.
Oh, dude, Mistweaver comps are in Dragonflight. They were so nasty.
Yeah,
so much pressure on the other team.
Yeah, and that's why I more specifically state my rank as a Mistweaver monk, because ultimately, like, there was a time where Mistweavers, you were pushing. I mean, just like every patch, there's always a class that you're pushing big rating. But it's also always been my favorite healer. I love Mistweaver monk. The design behind it has always been incredibly satisfying to me.
Yeah, I love how slippery they are, and like, you know.
Yeah, very slippery, very mobile. Yeah.
They're a lot of fun to play. I actually,
it's good when your friend's lying you all the time to play high mobility healer.
Yeah, when I wasn't a mage, I played a lot of Holy Pally.
Okay, yeah, Holy Pally's always been a fun staple. Again, every healer to me I enjoy, especially I mean the War Within's Disc Priest has Voidweaver specifically was incredibly fun to play. Not very good compared to Oracle, but very fun to play. So it like, again, I play all of them. It depends on the comps we're running, but Mistweaver's always been my best and my favorite.
Love it. What was your favorite Mistweaver comp?
Oh man, we ran a lot of I'm forgetting, I think, was it TSG, Mistweaver, Death Knight, and fuck, dude, my mind is so cooked from our work that I'm like thinking of like now RavenQuest arena comps, and I'm like, wait, what? Yeah,
well, that's what's gonna follow this, because I wanted.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
But honestly, in WoW, I've played every comp a lot, because I also have a lot of friends that are like 18 2K rated that we play with as well, and like there's like 15, so I played every comp, but that was the one that we pushed like the most. We also did some DK Affliction Lock as well, and man. Yeah.
Those are like one or two things. When I go up against DK Lock, I either think this is an easy win, or holy fuck, I better kill them in less than 3 minutes. Or I'm screwed. Because just the rot, you know how it builds up, like the rot throughout.
You heal against it, and you want to jump off a bridge, because there's nothing worse than healing against a rot comp, because you just feel like you're playing like whack-a-mole. You're like, just like, stop this one, and like, stop. Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah. All right, cool. So, because, you know, as soon as I played RavenQuest and I got into the arena mode, like, my brain went crazy. I was like, bro, what's the comp? But obviously the class system is so different.
A little different, right?
Yeah,
because
so I wasn't able to like figure it out.
It takes more time to see, like, okay, because for anyone who doesn't know, like, we have an archetype system where there's 8 archetypes, and pretty soon here there's 10. But there's 8 archetypes, and you pick 3 of those to basically make one of 56 classes. But from there, you also have skill trees within each to customize further. But then also over 200 Raven cards, which even further customize those skills. And that was a huge focus for us with RavenQuest, is we wanted insane build customization. And so with that, like, saying like what 2 classes go together is not really a good answer, as you know, because even within those classes, like, how heavy are you leaning into warfare versus shadow versus witchcraft, right? How heavy are you in each of those? But there's definitely like comps that you see where they're like focused more on certain things and work really well together. And that'll be even more so with 3v3 as well.
Yeah. Oh, we're getting 3v3. Let's go.
There you go. I dropped some alpha, seeing if you noticed, seeing if you're a real one or not.
Oh yeah. I know 3v3. You mentioned 2 more archetypes. You know, I try to catch types. I try to catch up 4 more archetypes.
No, 2 more archetypes, 4 more weapon types coming with them, though.
Weapon types. Oh, sick. Yeah, I try to see what ends up on the timeline, because the AMAs are always like at the worst time for me.
Oh, and I do like 3-hour AMAs, so don't worry. Take the spark notes.
Yeah, so I always like try to catch up, but man, 3v3s. Yeah, I mean, my 2v2 experience was I couldn't get anyone from the squad to
Ah,
pull up that did MMOs, so I had to get my brother to like be my like let me carry him so I can technically like
yeah.
be in the tournament.
Two
So
twos. Yeah.
I just had him running around and I was like trying to like I ended up doing a 1v2 against Valicy in 64.
Yeah, there
Um
you go.
yeah,
Dude,
so that was
WoW
fun.
Arena, WoW Arena was so different back in the day. I remember
Yeah.
playing like WoW Arena in Burning Crusade when I was like 16. And I remember like the ratings that we would push and we would just like dummy 99.9% of players. And I look back and I'm like, I was the worst player ever because back then, like WoW Arena was so much more like who had the time to play a lot.
Exactly.
And less about like mechanical understanding and stuff like that. Because I remember I'm like, man, even CC chains, like we were pushing like top arena and we barely understood like proper timings for CC chains and like
Yep.
obviously we understood DRs but like how to stack those DR windows, right? Like we didn't really have a good idea on that or like barely an idea on it compared to now. Like even just to get like 1800 in WoW Arena, you need to understand how to stack like
Oh,
DR
you
windows and stuff.
absolutely
Like,
for sure.
and it's so different. Where back then, like if you just knew how to use all your abilities, you would get 1800, right? And it's so wild looking back at like at how much that game has evolved. And I understand why WoW PvP is so polarizing to people and why it's not really growing. Or if anything is shrinking, even if WoW stays stable, because like
Yep.
new players are not able to get in PvP. Like
Not at all.
even if you like do a lot of PvE in one expansion, but you've never done arena before, you're like not
Completely
even gonna
different
win
game.
at the bottom rating. Yeah, you're
No.
just like there's too much to know, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
which is a bummer.
yeah, like in MOP, I got to 2.5K, right?
Yeah, hell
And
yeah.
with that it was like, as you know, you had the mirror images, you had the time stop thing that you're
Yeah.
going back in time to get your power blast crits back up, get the DR back to where it was like
Yeah.
you're
And
doing so many
In
things.
MOP, it was
Yeah.
much farther along. Like Wrath of
Yeah.
the Lich King, whenever someone's like, oh, I was Gladiator in Wrath of the Lich King, I'm like, cool, man. So was everyone who played more than 2 hours a day. Like it was not,
Yeah.
and it was also when there was such a surge of players in WoW, right? That there was such a like a rating boost because of that, because there was so much chump in WoW. But MOP is already where it started to get very respectable.
That was yeah, that was like
Yeah.
the moment that was the moment in my opinion where like WoW hit that next level of like, oh, this shit is sweaty. Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And dude,
wow.
it only keeps getting more and more sweaty. Like,
Yeah.
I'm always reminded when like I haven't played for like a year because I'll usually just play like the first few months of an expansion and then wait until the next one just because my time's limited. But I love that early arena push and everything. But I'm always reminded like when I come back, I'm like the first like 20 games, I'm like literally playing like 1300 games and can barely win. But as soon as I kind of get all like that mind process back and stuff, then suddenly you're like pushing rating, you can go up to 25, 26, right? But those, it's so such a reminder every time when I first start playing again. I'm like, man, it is just such a like different. There's so much to think about and to
Yeah.
remember and go back through. It comes back fast, like riding a bike, but it does take a little bit of time.
I I troll my Catalyst co-founders like Clouds and Hado specifically because Clouds he had done some pro during Black Ops 2. Hado's like he does Smash tournaments and stuff and he
Yeah.
loves to play League. And I was just like, guys, you guys don't understand like when the PvP I
it's
come from makes your
it's
shit
such
look
a
like
different beast.
it
It's
makes
like
your shit look like fucking training
oh, it
wheels.
is.
Bro.
It is. It's just it's very different. I even noticed that like my favorite game of all time is StarCraft 2. And I played a fuck ton of it back when it came out. Growing up, my brother, he's 10 years older. He would always play StarCraft. And I would always watch him. I was too young to play. Well, I just wasn't, he wouldn't let me, but I always watched it a lot. Cause I would, when I was at home or whatever, I was like 5, whatever age I was. And he was 10 years older. So, it's your big brother. So you just watch what he does, right? So I'd watch so
Of
much
course.
StarCraft. And when StarCraft 2 came out, I like got really into it and ended up doing it pretty hardcore for a while. Obviously got Grandmaster and all that. That was when it was respectable. It was top 200. But
Nice.
with that, like going from StarCraft to then playing like because everyone was playing League suddenly soon after, like a year and a half into StarCraft's release, suddenly League was gigantic, right? And so all my friends, like they weren't playing StarCraft. It was way like, unless you had a background in RTS games, you're not just jumping in to play StarCraft, unless it's the campaign, right? And so they would all watch StarCraft, but they wouldn't play it. But then when League came out, they all got in the League train and got hyped about it. And I remember going to League and being like, oh my God, I feel like I'm like brain dead right now playing this game because there's like so few mechanics to think about. Don't get me wrong, with every game there's a skill curve, right? Like the best League player in the world is there for a reason and they have to put in that work ethic. But like the base entry level, which is actually a good game design, is very simple, right? It's very simple to pick up. It's like having to learn checkers versus having to learn chess. There's a reason you don't teach a kid how to play chess. You usually teach them how to play checkers first, right? But that was the biggest shift for me, was like when you're playing StarCraft, like there's no amount of like processing in your mind that can be enough to keep up with the game. And that's so satisfying too. But when you're playing League, it's a little different. And especially like games like Call of Duty, it's more about like reaction timing and stuff, right? Which is its own skill set. It's a different skill set, right?
And it's impressive, and it's not any slight on it. It's just like when I would tell them, hey guys, like I come from a very competitive gaming like, okay, motherfucker, you playing World of Warcraft? I'm like, dude, you have no fucking idea. Like,
well, it's
I
was
also a pretty high ranking Gears of War player, right? And like, I can tell you, being 35th, being 35th worldwide in Gears 3, right, was easier than getting 2.5K a mob. Like,
oh, absolutely. Well, and it's more like the mechanical side. So like, it's just such a different way of learning, because both ways to like master it and be the best, you have to put in the work, but like they're very different. Like someone who's good at Call of Duty is not going to be good at WoW Arena, and vice versa generally. Like they can get good, but like it's not the same skill, right? Where someone who's good at WoW Arena could come into RavenQuest Arena and already have a pretty good base level understanding, right? Because it is so different. Instead of reaction time and, you know, peeking behind walls and shit like that, you're more like processing information. Like, what cooldown did they just use? What's my DR at? What cooldowns do I have up? What's my health at? Where's my healer's positioning? Like, you're processing way more information, but you're not needing the same reaction time necessarily as Call of Duty. So
the reaction time's in your brain, not necessarily in your hands.
It's processing information. Like, how quickly can you process information versus how quickly are you to move and shoot somebody, right?
Like I'll remember I was at the end of that 1v2 versus Valacy and 64 in that tournament, and I just saw the DR on the stun like starting to get like it was getting short. I was like, fuck, like I need to kite, like because I was like a sliver of health. And in the process of me kiting, because the DR was too high, he ends up getting killed by a mob, and I'm just like,
hell yeah.
Like, I was like, fuck. I wanted to kill myself, but I'll take the W.
I'll take it.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm really looking forward to that side of RavenQuest. You know,
we're cooking up big.
I love that game meta, man. It's amazing.
Yeah. We've teased our Champions League, but we'll have like a full video coming out about it soon after launch. But we're cooking up something pretty special with that, and that's why we've done these tournaments already, because I feel very strongly that you shouldn't try and shoehorn esports. You need to see, one, is it organic fit sustainably? Like, do the numbers make sense? Can you do these events without putting 100K into each of them? Because if not, like, unless you're the next league, like, good luck. But then on top of that, like, is the audience there in the first place, and do they care in the first place? And that's why we did those very small scope early tournaments. We were like, hey, do we have people watching? Oh, a few thousand people are watching. Awesome. Let's build on this, right? And let's continue to build off that. And instead of just like YOLOing, like, hey, let's throw an insane prize pool, this thing, insane production, spend $500,000 on production, prize pool, all this stuff, and then no one watches, right? So we took that approach of really wanting to see, hey, is this a good fit, or should we go a different direction? And we saw a very good fit there. So it's something that we're going to be building something pretty cool out with.
end of the Champions League, is that going to be in Portugal, Brazil, more digital? Like,
Yeah.
how's it going to go?
Yeah. So we haven't really shared too much on it yet, but we will be having like a weekly league kind of thing. So everyone will actually be able to participate in it to get seeding, like rankings, and then basically the top people will be at the live events. And we've actually recently shared that for those live events, anyone who does qualify for it, they will have all their trip and accommodation covered, because we don't want to put a situation where like the top player can't go because they have to spend the money, or like they don't want to take, they just don't have that cash on hand, stuff like that. And so, but then with that, our plan is to have like weekly streams in English and Portuguese, for to stream matches and guild wars and stuff like that. And then we will have multiple live events as well as a like finals live event.
Oh,
And
that's so fucking cool, man.
yeah, and the cool part too with the league is it's actually like multifaceted. So our goal is to appeal to more than just one type of player and one type of viewer. So we will have a Guild Wars side of it. So it'll be for guilds competing in the Champions League. We will have 2v2. We probably won't have 1v1 because we're likely going to be doing 3v3 instead. But then we also actually have the PvE side. So we will also have Aether Echo boss challenges as well. So a bunch of really cool stuff there. So if you're a PvE player as well, there will be something very interesting for you to participate into. And we also have some other fun stuff like MOA races and fishing derbies and stuff too. So
those PvE events can get really fun because I'll never forget watching like
yeah.
Method get world first
Yeah,
and stuff,
yeah.
you know.
It's its own strategy, right? It's trying to figure out how to beat a computer, right? And that can be really it's so much more theory crafting, which is cool, right?
And the races against each other, like what comps are you gonna run? Like, Method, they're always famous for stacking mages, like no matter what, they're just like stacking fucking fire mages
They
and
find
shit.
a way
And
to
you're like,
make it
what?
work. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And they weren't my favorite team, but they were when I was growing up, they were the champ.
Yeah, it's Method.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Method. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's just like it's been kind of interesting seeing some of the newer orgs kind of come in and challenge that a little bit in recent times. But man, like those PvE events can get fucking hyped. And like just the energy when they kill the boss, like the whole squad is just going crazy. Oh man. So it's cool that you're thinking about both sides of it.
That's what we like again, we've really been working on how can we do our own production for events to make sure that we're not, getting absolutely taken for an arm and a leg by third party production teams, and how can we build those things out in house and those connections and those understandings, and we've been doing that, and that was with our last live event, getting that experience and stuff. But the one thing we really were the event went incredibly smooth. We expected the worst. We thought it was going to be an absolute train wreck. It went incredibly smooth. The one thing that we really did miss on though was not having player cams for their reaction when they won, because like we thankfully we did have someone there recording for the post-production video, which includes the video of the players. But like, for example, when Smirnock ended up winning in a pretty big upset, like just his reaction was so special, and really feeling that energy of someone that is like, like he came into the tournament and he was like, I'm going to get smoked. I'm just here for a good time. Like, I'm just happy to be here, whatever. He didn't expect anything. And to see that, like, it was such a cool moment. And next time we'll definitely have player cams for the broadcast. So
I can't wait to see that. Yeah, I wanted to say that earlier. I always think you guys have put together a pretty solid production. Like, I still remember the first tournament you guys did digitally. You were shoutcasting it yourself.
Yeah,
that was fucking cool, man. Like watching a dev shoutcast his own game.
Was me.
Like, respect,
it was me and one of our lead engineers, and I'm like, hey, and that lead engineer, he knows the game, like how like the staff, some know the product insanely well, some are just really focused on pushing product through and code through and stuff. He like knows the product so well, so I was like, hey, do you want to like come on and like showcast with me? He's like, I've never done it before, but sure, sounds fun. So we just completely wung it. We were like, let's just have some fun with it. And that's what I mean about like building grassroots early. Like we were like, let's just do this like little fun thing. We'll just cast it ourselves. We don't need to like hire a team and production and all that. And let's just try it out and see if the audience likes it, right? And that was really important for us. Instead of just going straight in and being like, hey, here's a shit ton of money, hopefully it sticks, right? We're like, let's see if this works, right? Yeah.
I think it hits different, man. Like, at Paladins, we've hosted a ton of tournaments and projects come up to us and they're like, hey, can you host a tournament for us? And like they'll request for us to find shoutcasters and all that type of stuff. You know, like
Yeah.
and like Web 2 shoutcasters, like
Yeah.
not even like Web 3 people, right? And I'm just like, man, it would be kind of cooler if you had taken, like, I would always suggest people from the community, like, go find the guys from the community
Yeah.
that love the game,
Yeah,
you know,
dude,
like
our
save
showcasters
your
for
money.
our showcasters for our live tournament, we knew who our Portuguese ones were going to be. We had a few ideas on like backup plans for English ones, but funny enough, like during an AMA, I was talking about it, and Lou literally messaged me. We just, the live event was in Sao Paulo, and he's in Austria, and he's like, "Hey, can I like come down for the event?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course. Like if you want to fly down, like of course you can." And then I was like, "Wait." He actually could be kind of fun to do the English casting. And so I messaged him and he's like, yeah, sweet. I'm in for it. And I'm like, and him and Cryer, who was the guy that he wanted to do it with as well. Like they did it for the first time they ever showcasted a RavenQuest tournament. Like they did an awesome job. And then they're still newer to the game too. They don't have as much mechanically deep, but like that idea of getting it from your community, because they were just excited to do it, right? They were excited to be a part of it. And then even our Portuguese showcasters, so we had a co-stream, they're like veteran players from the community, right? And they're just like, yeah, I'll happily do it. And they did an awesome job as well. And it just makes it also like we took a Home Story Cup approach, if you know Home Story Cup, where we didn't want it to feel as professional. We wanted it to feel like you're kind of just hanging out with these creators as well. And they ended up doing a very professional job, but we didn't want it to feel like everything has to go perfect and everything has to be, fluid and everything. We wanted to feel a little bit more like, hey, you're just hanging out with these guys, and as a community and as a viewer, you're all in this together. So
It reminded me of the old, back in the day when the whole WoW arena scene with like Jamili and Peekaboo and all them.
yeah,
They used
of
to do
course.
the weekly. They used to do the weekly arena like events. It felt like that. Like you had all the homies lobbied up. You got it's all community run. Like it wasn't community run from you guys technically, but it had that vibe where it was
it
like,
had that feeling, right? And that's it, because our community cares about it and organically cares about it. And that's why like even our live event, like we did it at a venue where it wasn't like we didn't like sell tickets or anything. We just did all special invites. So everyone there had to be invited. But like the energy there, so many creators and people in Web3 kept saying like, this feels like everyone's here so organically and wanting to be here, compared to an event where they're either paid to go there or they're like kind of sponsored to go there. He's like, everyone here just wants to be here and found their own way to be here. And it felt like that, because after the event ended, for anyone who didn't know, like we partied pretty hard at the venue. We had like a DJ come in and we had a really good time, but like we had such a fun time that night, everyone just getting to know each other, because everyone wanted to be there. So it wasn't like the event ends and everyone left or something like that, right? Everyone was there for a good time and to network and get to know each other. And it just made it like so much more special.
It really took me back to those times where I used to sit on Twitch and just watch like Peekaboo, and then Snuts would come in because Snuts didn't show up every week, but Snuts the fucking goat. Like pulls up and he just like partners with whoever, and it's just like, yeah, we got this. It was great times, man. And Mess, the Death Knight, like I can't wait to see like RavenQuest build that scene, where it's like where obviously
and we
we're
have
kind of early to it, but
but we have a very
I'm
unique approach on how we're doing this as well. Something that we're very confident in our model. Won't share too much on that
yet. I'm at this point, like I've taken up an hour and a half of your time. I know you got tons of stuff to do.
Dude, the time flies by though, man. I love chatting with you. This was like so much fun.
It's very rare that I meet a dev that has the understanding for the WoW arena scene the way I do.
I appreciate that. I am a gamer through and through. All growing up, like my mom was always like, we were always fighting on how much video games I was playing. Always loved sports as well, but I loved gaming. And so I definitely have a big history in most games. I played pretty much every MMORPG ever made, so at least to some degree. Yeah,
I love that. I have a very, very expansive history in gaming, despite having all those WoW hours, which makes me question a lot of things growing up. but
Yeah.
you know, my mom, she actually was a Diablo 2 sweat, so that's how
Oh,
I got
okay.
into
Look at
gaming.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my mom,
Interesting.
I have a Zod rune tatted on my middle finger in honor of her.
Oh, no
Like,
shit. That's very
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
I love that.
my mom is where a lot of my love for gaming started because she's the one that put me on a PC.
Oh,
So
that's very cool. Yeah,
yeah, she
very,
used to
very
be
cool.
my
Yeah.
raid leader in WoW, ironically.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, so I'd
That's
get fucking
dope.
grounded, and it
Oh
would be
yeah,
the
if you, yeah,
funniest
you pull
arguments.
a side pack and she grounds you for a week, right?
No, 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 like, even it was opposite, like, I'd fuck up in school or I'd do some asshole thing, and then she'd be
Oh,
like, "I can't ground you because 'cause you're my main healer, so I
yeah.
need you, but, like,
But
you
you're
can't
grounded
play
tomorrow.
outside of the
Yeah.
fucking raid."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Other than raid resets, you're not allowed to play.
Yeah, so I never truly felt grounded growing up because my mom
Yeah, okay,
always needed
okay.
me to be a fucking healer.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, you know, WoW, gaming, MMOs, you know, I played all sorts of genres, but MMOs will always be my home, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Same with me.
so
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
RavenQuest was that moment for me in Web3 where I was
Good.
like, all right, cool. Like I got something that I can really sink my time into and I can really enjoy.
Listen, you ever have feedback on our arena system, you message me anytime, okay?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and
Now
I'm
that I
gonna
know you
be
got
in
the
there.
street cred. I know you got the
Yeah.
street cred now, so
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
gonna be in there, and that's what I said. Like, it was frustrating going to the tournament, and none of the guys from my team, everyone, like, there aren't that many MMO heads the way that
Yeah.
I am, you know. So,
Mhm.
and that's no offense to the Catalyst boys. Like, I love them, you
No,
know, and the homies like Paladins too.
yeah. Someone
Um,
can be good at basketball but not good at soccer.
yeah.
Like it's
So
different. Yeah.
I was just like, shit. All right, I need my brother to just kite, and then I'll just like try to like pull this off myself. But I can't wait to have the time to really get sweaty with the arenas and like have a deep understanding for the different comps. Yeah, man, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I can't lie, you know, being able to talk about MMOs really, really, you know, all the guests I've had on the show are great, but there's something deeply special about being able to talk about MMOs at this level. So
Yeah, yeah, no,
I'm
dude,
very
this
grateful to you.
conversation was so fun. Like, even when you mentioned the time, I looked up, I'm like, holy shit, it's almost been an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I had an absolute blast, and yeah, I appreciate like all the kind things you said and how much you've supported us since really like day one for us. You've been a huge gem for us and for the space as a whole. So thank you.
No, thank you so much, man. And any final thoughts? Any
RavenQuest globally releases on March 14th. That's
let's
really it.
fucking get it.
Yeah, let's go. All right.